Jake Paul knocks out Mike Perry in round 6, and many pros criticize the fight.
Jay Mosley Jr., my God, this is fight hype. What you think of that, Jake Paul knockout?
It was crazy. It's what I thought it was going to be. Right? Mike Perry's tough, and I thought, it was going to take a while to get the knockout, but I thought he was going to get the knockout.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Yeah. So obviously Jake's got Mike Tyson coming up in November.
Crazy.
How do you think that fight goes, man?
Man, I think it's a tough fight early for him, right? Mike is still Mike Tyson, and he's older, so it's only going to last for so long, right? So if he can take him into deep water, I think maybe he can edge out the decision.
I'm going to go home prepared for that. And Alex Pereira, you said you want to box. I'm the king of this. Come over. We can make it happen. I want you, Alex Pereira.
You want the UFC light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira?
Indeed. I just beat a BKFC champion. I beat multiple UFC champions, and he said he wants to box. So Alex Pereira, after Mike Tyson, let's make it happen.
As soon as your fight ended, Conor McGregor said Mike Perry was fired from the BKFC.
Oh my!
Did he really? Yeah. And he took shots at you. He called you some derogative term. Any message for Conor McGregor?
Hey, that's fucked up that you fired your BKFC champion. But
face of BKFC.
I told you that was gonna happen. I told you exactly what was gonna happen. He was big upping his boy Mike Perry. I said, okay, Conor, after I Mike Perry, then you're next. So Conor's on Twitter all the time. He's on his yacht all the time, but guess where he's not? In the ring fighting me. So he can talk all the he wants, but the notorious MMA is scared of Jake Joseph Paul from Disney Channel. And I put that on my mama.
Yeah, it definitely was. Haley, how does it feel to have all this fame and this short? Hold on. Tell us again, what did you think about this fight? There we go. Haley, 3 weeks, 2 million Instagram followers. How crazy does it feel? Yeah, you've been everywhere, huh?
Yeah.
No doubt. What can we see from you next, Haley? What can we expect from you next? It's a surprise? Can we get one? Can we get one? Yo, Pump. Fight hype. What you think of that knockout, Pump?
That was crazy.
Yeah. What you think he's gonna do against Mike Tyson?
Same thing.
There you go.
He's probably gonna win a decision, but it's gonna be good.
Yo, one last question for you, Pump.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what you thought about what happened to Trump a couple weeks ago when they tried to assassinate him.
Man, that was horrible, man. But thank God he's alive.
Let's get it! Let's get it! Fight hype.
About the fight, brother.
Hulk Hogan! Hey, what do you think about the fight, Hulk?
What up, blitz shit up, man.
Let's
What's
go.
good, man?
Yo, what you think of that knockout?
All right, listen, man. That's a warrior right there, man. Mike warrior. This not even his sport, man. You gotta be a damn motherfucker to step in somebody else's sport. You know what I mean? You already know.
What do you think about Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson at the end of the year?
Mike, hey, yo. Mike's a legend, man. Jake would train 20 years later. He still can't beat Mike.
Hey, one flex with the guy?
Can we ever see you in a boxing match?
Hell yeah, when the money is right.
Who would you want to fight?
Anybody. I love the money right.
In a recent podcast, UFC commentator Joe Rogan, along with the boys, shockingly reveals his thoughts about the Jake Paul and Mike Perry fight on July 20th. Jake was supposed to fight Mike Tyson this July, but the fight got delayed due to Mike's medical conditions, and the big showdown will now continue in November. So, during the heat of the moment, Mike Tyson was surprisingly replaced by the platinum Mike Perry. When Joe Rogan was asked when the fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul will take place, he said with a doubtful attitude, "It's supposed to be in November. Supposed to be. But that is, who knows if it's ever gonna happen. I mean, Mike has ulcers, he's a 58-year-old man." He further reveals that the fight between Tyson and Jake will occur in Tampa, Florida, which is like the source of Mike Perry. That's like the land that gave birth to him, and he became famous when he started fighting bare knuckle, as opposed to when he was in the UFC. Joe Rogan further explains how dangerous Mike Perry is in the bare knuckle championship, and could be a difficult opponent for Jake Paul.
Yo, how many people are counting out Mike Perry? Isn't that interesting?
I'm not counting him.
Bro, it's wild to me. And then in all the comments like, "Oh, dude, you must think it's bare knuckle. This is boxing." I'm like, oh, you don't know what a dog Mike Perry is.
Yeah, he's a pit bull.
You need to do your goddamn research.
Mike
There's
Perry,
no quit.
He's a game-bred pit bull.
He's
Game
gonna get in your
grabber.
face for all 8 of those rounds. And everyone's like, "Oh, this is a gimmick fight." I'm like, "You're a moron." But you're in the Mike Tyson fight. Get the f-
When Perry was asked if he thinks he can beat Jake Paul, he said that he is going to beat Jake in his own game, which is boxing, despite being a bare-knuckle champion. This will be a defining moment for Perry to prove to the world that he is a better fighter than Jake Paul, even if he is wearing Tenno's gloves.
Jake's not going to meet me in the middle. He's going to try to play his strategy, and I'm going to overwhelm him. So, you know, like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity and my chance to get to prove this to everyone, to who, you know, prove who the fighter is that I am.
Mike Perry reassures everyone about the preparation for the upcoming battle, and he is in the best shape to take down Paul really fast. He adds, "I feel great, man. There's lots of, fine-tuning the details, and just preparation for battle, man. I'm here for war, bro." The interviewer, in a very surprising manner, asks the question whether the relationship between Jake Paul and Mike Perry has broken down with time, since Perry initially helped Jake Paul prepare for one of his first fights, and now he is known as the one of the biggest names in boxing. While responding to the interviewer's question on Perry and Jake's friendship first, he stayed humble and said, "I'm grateful for the opportunity, but it's the men behind. The men, the ones who are behind closed doors that are making all this clockwork, and I've earned this opportunity." Then suddenly he lashed out and said, "Jake, bro, we've never been friends. He's never been cool with me. He wanted to beat me up and he's a sneaky little snake, and I'm going to knock the teeth out of his mouth. Him. Fuck you, Jake. I'll beat you ass bitch. July 20th. Come and see at Emily Arena, Tampa, Florida." Perry later revealed that it wasn't the opportunity to compete with Jake on an equal footing because they are friends, but the opportunity to knock his teeth out in his own game, and Perry is loving this chance to show the world that he will come out victorious. He also accused Jake of walking in the fighting world without a strategy, without proper training, and without any proper experience, but he will get what his overconfidence deserves in the form of getting his teeth knocked out because it is Perry's turn now.
I've been doing this. You walked in and you skipped the line and you skipped your experience, and now it's my...
The interviewer further questioned Perry if he feels any pressure around Jake because he has been successful in other areas, especially in the YouTube field, and he has a lot of following, making him the hero of the viewers and that fans that watch him, to which Perry responded, "No, man. I'm doing this for me and my family. I'm focused. My team, we got the plan. Together, when you know this fight happened, a lot of people came out the woodwork trying to hit us up, trying to find their way in, and they can't get in because I've been doing it right. I've been doing it my way, and that's been working, ain't it?" Perry further added that he has been in the fighting world, successful for the past 12 years at the top, and whatever he and his team comes up with, whatever strategy they plan, it works. And no one can come up and say that it's a shortcut or it isn't working, because all the previous victories shatter all those beliefs. Every time someone acts like they know how the fighting works and how the wins come, they don't know that because they have not been in Perry's place. He also exclaimed, "No one has been in my position. I am the biggest fighter to come out of Central Florida, to come out of Flint, Michigan, to make it to the level I've been, and no one can tell me how to be where I am because they have not been here." Mike Perry has been in a lot of great fights in the past years, whether it was the BKFC or the UFC, and he has defeated big names like Michael Venom Page, Julian Lane, Eddie Alvarez, Luke Rockhold, and most recently Thiago Alves in April. But he also admits that the fight with Jake Paul will be the biggest fight of his career yet, and when he wins the fight, then people will discredit him, saying that, "Oh, Jake was just a YouTuber. It was his first real fight ever." Perry is a perfect 5-0 with wins when it comes to BKFC, yet still, some people will be with Perry, others will be against him and criticize his victory, and that will give Perry's next opponent, after Paul, whoever that may be, a chance to talk dirty about Mike's win. But Perry is laser focused on the fight, and he does not care what critics have to say or what they will say in the future. His determination to win comes with the belief that he is doing this for his family and the people that make things happen around him.
When I beat Jake, they will try to discredit me. It was just a YouTuber, or he was just this, or that was his first real fight. But win or lose, they're gonna discredit. Some will credit, some will be like, "Oh, we believed in you, I had your back." Others will say, "You haven't done anything." The next opponent will definitely, try to talk his shit. So I'm not focused on any of that. I'm focused on my plan, my people, my family, and it's tunnel vision to July 20th.
Previously, Perry revealed that his dream opponent in BKFC would be Jake Paul, and although it was his desire that he fight Jake bare knuckle, he is not at all worried about whether the gloves are on or off, saying with reassurance, "Here Jake can take his gloves off, and I'll put the gloves on, and I'll still whoop his ass. He can fight me bare knuckle, and I'll punch him with 10-0's gloves. Let it be known that Jake does not want to do it in my ring, so I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna beat him in his own game." Perry further elaborates his strategy for beating Jake Paul by saying that Jake's is not going to meet him in the center. Paul will try to leverage the strategy that he and his team will come up with, but that will not be enough to beat Mike Perry. Perry remembers the time when he and Jake Paul sparred many years ago and explains how he understands Jake's little trick by saying, "I know his right hand, I know it, I understood it back then when he hit me with it, and that's his little thing. I get it. I got a couple of shots that I'm really good at too, and I've been developing those for the past 3 years." Recently, Perry posted a video on his social media calling out war against his fight with Jake Paul.
I'm coming for you, Jake! I'm the king of violence!
Turning our attention to what the famous UFC star Sean O'Malley has to say about Mike Perry versus Jake Paul, he believes that this fight will be a tough one, and it will add more competition for Jake since Mike Tyson was a little too old for the fight. Perry, still 32, is 27 years younger than Mike Tyson, but he is definitely built for fighting as opposed to Jake Paul, who has only been doing this for a few years.
Not supposed to happen, but Mike Perry versus Jake Paul, I think it's more of a competitive match. I think Tyson was just a little bit too, aged, weathered. But I think Mike Perry versus Jake Paul is a very, very interesting, very competitive fight. I think it would be the most competitive fight Jake's had outside of the Tommy Fury fight. I would be very interested to seeing it, and I'm excited to see it. I think it's actually happening July 20th, and I don't know where, but I want to go.
Sean also says that the fight is very hard to predict because the weight of Jake Paul is 230 lbs currently, and he maybe has to cut down 40 to 50 lbs to fight, while on the other hand, Perry, although very fit, has a completely different skill set than Jake Paul, since he has fought in the MMA, the UFC, and he truly shines in the bare knuckle regime. It's a completely different sport altogether, since it's a different weight class, a different size of the ring. The age range is completely vague, yet still better than Mike Tyson. It's not surprising that Jake Paul is overweight, since Mike Tyson also commented on him being overweight before their fight was called off because of Mike's medical condition. Although Mike Tyson still appreciates that Jake Paul has improved a lot over the years, he is still not a world-class champion when it comes to boxing, but he is still stepping up his game. Let's look at what Mike Tyson has to say.
It was good while it lasted for Jake, okay? It was good while it lasted. Not gonna last much longer. You're fat, Jake.
In an interview, Jake Paul, with an overwhelming amount of confidence, explains how he views the upcoming fight with Perry. Since the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson had been postponed to November, it made sense for Paul to replace Mike Tyson with an equally fierce, if not more opponent like the bare knuckle champion Mike Perry. Paul does not view the upcoming fight with Perry as a real fight when he explains that this will be a warm-up and a good starter, like a nice salad before his actual real fight with the big boss Iron Mike. Let's look at what he has to say.
There's a lot that goes into it, but first and foremost, I'm on a path to world championships, and I wanted to stay active and get as much experience as I possibly could, and this is a Mike appetizer. I'm still fighting Tyson November 15th, but Mike Perry is a good experienced partner to go in there with, to test my skills, to get better with each fight, and he's just as violent, just as much knockout power as Tyson, and so I believe if I can put my skills to the test against him, then I'll have an easier time with Tyson in November, and I just want to gain as much experience as possible.
Fans have been commenting on social media, including Instagram and Twitter, when ESPN broke the news about the fight between Perry and Paul, and there is a big surprise factor and an overwhelming amount of curiosity about the upcoming fight. When Jake was asked about how dangerous does he think Mike Perry is, he responded, "He's super dangerous. I think he's one of the most violent people on earth. He's undefeated in bare knuckle, which is arguably the craziest sport in the world, so I have a lot of respect for Mike Perry." Considering the age gap between Mike Perry and Jake Paul, and also adding in Perry's experience with bare knuckle and his undefeated record, there are certain factors for this fight to be more entertaining than the potential scrap with Tyson that is going to come in the near future. Jake further added, "I know he's a killer. He's a knockout artist. He's tough. He has good cardio. He doesn't stop coming forward, so there's a lot of risk, so that what has propelled me so far in my career is not slowing down and always challenging myself further and further with each fight, and I was also surprised by the reaction when this fight got announced. After seeing the reaction reaction of the fans, Jake Paul's intrigue and interest for the fight skyrocketed because he really thinks that this fight could be entertaining for the people supporting him. So he said, "How many people were like, yo, this is even better than the Mike Tyson fight?" So that excited me, and I feel like I made the right decision, and staying active, and I love to fight, and I love to train, and I love the sport of boxing. So might as well go up under the bright lights and get a knockout, because I believe in my skill, and I fear no man, which is the motto for this fight. When inquired about the risk involved in this fight, Jake seems very optimistic, and knows there is risk involved, but not enough for him to be worried about that stuff. There is a chance that there will be a hand injury or a cut, which can heal in a month, and Jake's body has adapted to curing hand injuries within a month or two in the past. There will be enough time between the fights with Perry and Tyson to be in the optimal state in November. Jake seems positive that his body can recover faster, even if there is a chance for an injury to occur within the fight on July 20th. Many critics still believe that it's crazy of Jake Paul to head on a one-on-one fight with the beast Mike Perry, but it doesn't surprise Jake in the least, as many people have been saying the same stuff in the past before the fights with Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, or Julio Cesar, to which Jake emerged victorious. Jake continues to prove people wrong, and he thrives on that idea, saying, "Yeah, I 100% thrive on that idea. I see so many people saying that I made a mistake. This was really dumb of me to do. Mike Perry is going to be the one to finish me, blah blah blah." And I just find it funny because people don't really understand the sport of boxing. Most of them are MMA critics or couch critics, and they don't really understand that I've slowly perfected this craft. Jake Paul continues to boast about his skills by claiming that he has a natural, God-given talent that one cannot learn or cannot be taught, but it comes from within. Paul also shares the thoughts of critics by saying they really don't understand that because they have a difficulty in understanding boxing.
That I've slowly perfected this craft, and that I actually have a ton of skill and natural God-given talent, which is power, and that's something that you can't teach. And so even in my last two fights, finishing guys who've been doing this sport their whole life in basically like 1.5.
When Paul was further asked if there was ever a time in his life when he thought that he should forfeit the Mike Tyson fight, he explained that this is a fundamental practice of boxing, training your mind before every single fight. And while it's natural to have second guesses, there will always be an element of fear.
You know, there's definitely those fear thoughts, like insecure thoughts, for sure. Every human deals with those things, and I don't care if people say that they don't or they act like they don't. It's just human nature to have that. That's what drives us forward. And so those types of things definitely come into my head, but it's just about learning your mind and being able to harness it and be like, okay, thought, I see you insecurity. Let me deal with that, manage that, and like just push it off to the side.
Paul firmly believes that he will be a world champion in 2025, and Mike Perry is a stepping stone for him. This may come as a shock to many people when Jake exclaims that he will definitely be the champion next year, and they might think he's delusional, but he is adamant at making that happen. Paul further adds with unwavering belief about the world champion title, "People are going to come back and watch this interview one day, clip it, make a hype-ass edit and montage with the song dropping here, and then all of a sudden I'm world champion in 2025. It's really just my God-given ability and my willpower to do this, and people haven't again even seen me fight in the past last year because of 2 first-round knockouts. If Mike Perry can make it out of the first or second round, then maybe people will see a little bit more, but I don't believe anyone can hang in there with me at 200 lb so." Nonetheless, Jake Paul is fully prepared and ready to take down Perry as he shares his new smashing pads, the same way he is going to beat down his opponent on July 20th.
I'm in school, Perry. Time to go back to school. Get W at Walmart.
Now, shifting our focus to another former UFC star, Daniel Cormier. He said that when he first heard the news of Mike Perry fighting Jake Paul, he was really surprised and thinks that this will be a very interesting fight since the weight difference and the skill difference is very vague.
And in one regard, but it's refreshing because Perry is still young and still fighting in his prime. Honestly, it's in bare knuckle, but he's still fighting well. So when I first heard it, and this is what I mean by it's on brand.
Daniel thinks that Jake Paul mostly fights guys that are smaller and older than him, so this will be a really easy fight, but he thought the same when Mike Perry was to fight Luke Rockhold, because Mike was 170 lialrbs at the time. Luke, being Daniel's friend, were both convinced that this fight is going to be easy money, but Perry eventually ended up beating Luke, which was really surprising despite Perry's smaller size. Daniel further commented about Jake fighting smaller guys. Tyron Woodley small, Ben Askren small, he really has fought welterweights, right? Anderson was the only bigger one. on, and Anderson is Pastor Prime. Then he fought Tommy Fury, but he lost. He's beaten smaller guys. Nate Robinson's tiny right. They're all small. So I immediately thought this is on brand because I remember telling Luke, easy money, you're gonna make $1 million to beat up on a small dude, and then we all saw what Perry did to my boy. Daniel admires the skill of Mike Perry when he says that this dude is an absolute killer. Although he may be small, but there is nobody in the world that has beaten him in bare-knuckle combats. Cormier also thinks he is hilarious, and is incredible in what he does to the opponents he has faced. Complimenting Mike's skill in bare-knuckle fighting, he further adds, he's still the guy that people always, well, Mike Perry's out of his mind. Sure, he's out of his mind. But in that arena, I believe what benefits him to the point is bare-knuckle boxing, that these guys just can't go with him. Moreover, Daniel explains, Thiago Alves, who is a tremendous fighter, Luke Rockhold, who's a champion, they could not compete with him in that arena partly due to the fact that Mike Perry just don't give a damn. In light of all the drama that builds up to the Perry and Jake fight, Daniel furthers his remarks on Perry's skill by saying that a guy who has fought people bare knuckle, the 8-O's boxing gloves are going to feel like pillows to the vicious animal that Mike Perry has become. On the flip side of things, Daniel, while talking about Jake Paul, added that he possesses enough skill to make boxing pros run away, but is Jake's skill enough for him to win against Mike Perry? Daniel leans on the side of Perry as he says that he can make the fight really ugly for Jake Paul, and enough to beat him. Although, if Jake were to corner Perry, then he can take a crack at him really fast, turning the fight in his favor. So what are your takes on the Perry versus Jake fight happening on July 20th? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you enjoyed this one.